Good morning everyone, welcome to day 2 of the Strong and Supple workshop. So I'm back again, we're going to do a little bit more this morning. Now before we start, we're just going to hang on for a couple of minutes. I'm just checking that I'm live. Oh, I am. I can't see it on here, but I know I am. Okay, we're just going to hang on for a couple of minutes. Oh, there I am. I can see myself now. Going to hang on for a couple of minutes just to make sure that everybody who wants to join in is here. It's ready to take part. I can see that people are hopping on now, so that's fantastic. Okay, so what are we going to be doing today? Well, today we are going to focus on the spine and the lower back. So it's all about mobilising the spine today. So if you often get stiffness, tension, tightness in your lower back, then you're going to like this workshop. Okay, hopefully by the end of this session you'll feel nice and loose and everything is moving a lot better. Okay, so now I've got to check with you because I gave you a little task, didn't I, yesterday. I said to you at the end of the session, go away, pick your favourite exercise from yesterday's session and do it again later in the day. I wonder how many of you did it. So if you're here watching now and you've seen yesterday's session, you may have done it on the replay, you may have done it live with me, just type in a little message saying, yes, I did my one exercise yesterday, fantastic, let me know who did it. Okay, now I see there's lots more of you popping on now, which is brilliant. So just so that I can see who you are, do you just want to type a quick hello in the comments below, and I can see your names popping up and I can see who is on. That's it, some more coming on now, but unless you type something in I can't actually see who's with me. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so we'll just hang on another minute. Now, today we're going to do the same thing again as I asked you to do yesterday. I'm going to ask you at the end of the session to pick another exercise. Pick one that you really enjoy doing. So you'll be prepared today, hopefully. So as you're going through, you can think, oh yes, I like this one. This one feels really good. And that can be your exercise that you can do later again today. But what I want you to do today is I want you to do the exercise that you picked yesterday and today's exercise. So you can have 2 exercises to do. They're still not going to take you very long, are they? So hopefully by now you'll have seen that you've already practiced them once. So it's not going to take you more than 5 minutes, is it? Not even that really. Okay, so just to have another go at just a couple of the exercises. So I'll remind you about that at the end. Wonderful, that's popping on now. That's wonderful. Okay then, don't forget, if you're just joining me, just say hello in the comments below so that I know you're here. Okay, so before we start then, I've just got one more thing to tell you. I've got some exciting news coming tomorrow. I'll just tell you briefly about it now. I'll tell you a bit more about it tomorrow. For everyone who's taken part in the workshop this week, I've got a couple of things that I want to give away. So I've got a free posture course. So it's all about improving your posture, making sure that you stand up nice and tall, sit up nice and tall. Got a posture course to give away, and I've also got a personalised workout plan. I've got, what I'm going to do is, I can't do it for everyone, but we're going to, hopefully there's going to be a handful of people that are interested in that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to design you your own personalised Pilates workout plan, a weekly plan for you to follow. So we'll have to have a little chat about that, okay? But you can tell me if you're a beginner, if you're more advanced, if you've got any maybe problems with your back, and I can put it all into a little plan for you. And I'm going to do that for 5 lucky people, completely free, okay? So I'll tell you a bit more about that tomorrow, okay? So I suppose we ought to crack on, hadn't we? So let me just explain before we start a little bit about backs, okay? Because it's probably the biggest issue that people have, or the biggest reason for doing Pilates as well, I suppose. Because I think a lot of people are aware that Pilates is really good for strengthening your back. And it is. because Pilates helps us to strengthen our core muscles. So those are those deep abdominal muscles. But not only do we strengthen these abdominal muscles, we also strengthen all the way around us at the same time. So it's almost like you've got a corset of strength from doing your Pilates exercise, and that will support your lower back, give it more strength. But of course we need to make sure that we get rid of any tension, because a lot of people are very tight in their lower backs. And also we need to work on mobility as well, mobility of the lower spine in particular, all the way up the back, really, all the way up the spine. I find that people have a lot of mobility issues, but if we just think about the lower back for today, a lot of people have very poor mobility in their lower back. So what is this generally caused by? Well, for a lot of us, it could be lifestyle, it could be your job. I see a lot of office workers, people who do a lot of driving, and they're sitting constantly in the same position all day, so their lower back isn't getting much movement at all, so they're sort of in a fixed position, and that's when you get tightness and tension building up in the lower part of the back, and of years of doing the same thing, you start to lose your mobility. So as things tighten up, if you bend over, it feels uncomfortable in the lower back. It feels tight. You feel like you can't reach down as you used to be able to pick something up off the floor. Things get very tight. So Pilates is really good at loosening up tight areas. We do a lot of stretching, a lot of mobility to get things moving. Got to get all those joints moving in the lower back. And of course it's very good at strengthening. Another type of person that comes to me a lot is people who have recurring niggly aches and pains with their lower back. So I'll give you an example. I see a lot of people who enjoy gardening, and I guarantee at the beginning of the year, when the weather starts to pick up, I get people who come and say, well, I've done something to my back. I like going in the garden, but they've been finding that sort of every year they can have 2 or 3 spells of, oh, I've pulled something in my back is gone, and then they rest it, and they can't do anything for a few days until it goes better. Then it might be fine for a few weeks or a few months, and then they'll do something again and it goes again. Something like that generally is just a muscular problem, okay? We might be weak in our lower back, the muscles just might not be strong enough. They need more support because the muscles in the lower back are quite small anyway. So if you're in your garden lifting pots or compost, going out and cutting the grass that you haven't done for months, it will put strain on the lower back because those muscles aren't used to doing it. They haven't done it for a few months over the winter, and then you suddenly start to ask you to do all these things, and it thinks, oh no, not going to do that, and it gives up at some point. But the great thing is that Pilates is going to help to strengthen your back by strengthening the core and also improving your mobility, because if we've got really good mobility in our lower back, it's going to help an awful lot. And today I've got one mobility exercise, well actually I've got a couple of really nice ones, but one in particular is really good at focusing on mobility of the lower back, so we're going to be doing that one a little bit later. So if you have any, if you experience any tightness, tension, stiffness, things like that in your lower back on a regular basis, that is usually just a muscular problem which is quite easy to sort out with Pilates. A lot of people think that they have to rest if they've done something, but sometimes resting and not doing anything isn't necessarily the best thing. Sometimes we just need to do a few gentle mobility exercises just to keep things moving, because sometimes if you rest, some people feel like they just seize up completely. So sometimes we just need to do a little bit of mobility just to keep things moving a bit. Is that all I need to tell you? I think so. I think it is. I should tell you as well, before I found Pilates and how effective it was for backs, I also had an issue with my back after I had my daughter. It felt very weak. A lot of people say they have a weak back and they don't feel like they have any strength. I got to the point where I just didn't feel like I had any strength to support myself if I just bent over. So that was when I discovered Pilates. Well, I knew a lot about it anyway because I've always worked in the fitness industry, but I never actually tried it. So I found a local Pilates teacher. I had 4 sessions with her, so that's like 1 hour, a class, 1 hour a week for 4 weeks. And after that 4th session, I started to feel better. Things were improving. I felt it was easier to bend over, and my back didn't feel quite as weak. And of course from then on I was hooked, and I've been doing it ever since. Okay, so it's surprising sometimes we don't need to do a lot to start to feel the benefits of Pilates. Okay, you've heard me waffle on, I think, long enough now, so I think we better get down to something. So if you just joined me while I've been talking, say hello, pop me a comment in the bottom, I'll have a look later and reply to you. Okay, so let me just check what we're going to do. Right, okay, so we're going to set up in a different position to start with, because yesterday we were lying on our back, weren't we? We'll do that again in a bit. But I thought we would start off with exercise in a different position. So hopefully you've got a towel. Oh, and again, like I said yesterday, I hope you're going to be joining in with me, and you're not going to just sit there and watch me. Okay, you've got to get the most out, you've got to take part, haven't you? So if you've got your towel, okay, you're going to roll it up. Well, you don't have to roll it up, but I find a lot of ladies like to roll it up. I do it because I've got a funny wrist, okay, and it's just more comfortable. It puts less pressure through the wrists. Because what we're going to do to start with is come into an all-fours position. So we're coming onto hands and knees, okay? Now, there are lots of different variations that you can do exercises in if you have trouble with your knees, different ways that you can support yourself, okay? I'm not going to go into all of those today, but if you're struggling with your knees, you're fairly okay for a short period of time. A good little tip is to get another towel, okay, and fold it, because sometimes all you need is a little bit of extra cushioning. I'm just going to, if you can see, my knee is just coming over the towel a little bit, so it's not putting any pressure directly on the kneecap, okay. Sometimes that just makes it a little bit easier, okay. There are lots of other ways that you can get around that as well. Okay, so we're going to set up. So I'm just going to talk you through the setup like I did yesterday when we're on the mat. Obviously it's going to be slightly different now we're in all fours, okay. So when you're setting yourself up, okay, you want your hands directly under your shoulders. They could be very slightly forward, but more or less underneath the shoulders. Okay, you want your knees directly underneath your hips, okay? And in this position, it is really easy to look up in front, but that puts a lot of pressure through the neck. It's not very comfortable after a while. So make sure that you're always looking down at the mat. Now, I know you're trying to follow along with me as well, but once you've got to grips with the exercise, you know what we're doing, then look down at the mat. That keeps that nice straight neck. We want to keep it in that position, doesn't put any pressure through the neck. Finally, to make sure our back is in a good position, make sure you don't arch it. So can you say, I'm just trying to exaggerate this curve in the lower part of the back. That puts an awful lot of pressure on the lower back, and I don't know if you notice my shoulders have come up as well. So I would rather you think about keeping your back nice and straight, okay, and the feeling of you're lifting your navel up towards your spine a little bit. You can think of it that way, okay. So think more of a straight back than an arch in the back, okay. So that is your set-up position. That's where we're going to start. So we're going to start with a nice mobility exercise, okay. So this one is called the cat. Some people find this takes a bit of practice to get used to, so see how you get on with this one. So we are going to start with a little tuck. You're going to tuck your tailbone under, okay, and then from there, once we get that going, we're going to tuck the head under as well, as much as we can. And then we're going to arch the back up and over. So can you see I've sort of arched my back up? Now what we've got to do now is come all the way back down. Okay, so I come all the way back down, straighten out the spine again. I'm lifting my head again, so I'm looking directly down at the mat. and I've finished with a straightish back, don't finish with that curve, ready to go again. So here we go, we're going to take the tailbone under first, get that going, then drop their heads down, tuck the chin under as much as you can, arch the back up and over. And sometimes here I tell people to push their hands into the mat, okay, because that just encourages that pulling up through the spine. And then we're going to come all the way back down again. So we want to go nice and steady with this one, so we'll do a couple more. So we're going to tuck the tailbone under, tuck that head under, arch the back up and over. Now don't arch too much. If you start to feel any pulling in your back anywhere, then don't take it any further. And then we'll come all the way back down. So this is a nice mobility exercise. I use this one an awful lot. Okay, it's a nice one to loosen up the spine. And then we can come back. Wonderful. Okay, let's just sit back for a second. Okay, so before we do any more, okay, I want you to just think about how that felt, okay? Because sometimes when we start with something like that, if you've got any tightness in the lower back, it feels like something's pulling a little bit, okay? But the interesting thing is the more you do it, the easier it gets. So I just want you to think, how did that feel then? How did your lower back feel, okay? And just think about that for a minute, okay? Now we're going to do another one, okay? This one is called threading the needle. So we're going to be working in the same position, okay? But we're going to add in some rotation this time, okay? So we're going to come back into our nice set-up position. So we've got hands under shoulders, knees under hips, okay? So I've got a more of a flat back rather than an arched one. I'm lifting my head, I'm looking down at the mat. So what you've got to do this time is get one hand. You're going to feed it through the middle. It's going this way, okay? Now as you feed it through, keep that hand fairly close to the floor, okay? Now my supporting arm, the other one, is straight at the minute. So you can see I can't reach very far, okay? So we'll just start there. So just reach as far as you can along the floor and then bring that hand back and place it back down on the mat. Then you take your other hand and we go the other way. So the supporting arm is straight, we reach through the middle there as far as we can. So this one is giving us some rotation through the spine. So it's a nice mobility exercise again, but trying to get the spine to move in a slightly different way to the one we've just done. Okay, and then we'll do it again. Now you can get more out of this exercise if you want to. If this feels okay, the supporting arm, this time I want you to bend it. So we're going to bend the elbow a little bit, and then you'll see you are able to reach further along the floor. And then you can come back up, and then we'll switch sides. So we're going to bend the supporting arm. We're going to reach through the middle, and then we're going to come back. Okay, should we do a couple more? Because this one feels quite nice, this one does. If you don't want to bend the elbow, or if you only want to bend it a little, then that's fine. Okay, so we're just looking for some rotation through the spine then this time. Okay, wonderful. Now, let's come back into a shell stretch. I use this exercise a lot. It gives us a nice little stretch. It's a nice way to finish off a little sequence before we change position. So we're just going to sit back towards the feet. We're going to reach the arms forward, have a nice big stretch all the way down the length of that spine. And then we can bring ourselves back up to sitting. Okay, so that's it in our all fours position. We're not going to do any more. So we're going to change position. So I'm going to fold my towel up this time. We're going to lie on our back like we did yesterday. So the first thing we're going to do is that setup that we did. Okay, so we're going to come down onto the mat. Okay, so your towel is supporting your head. Okay, and we're going to have the legs together, I think. Okay, so let's do that setup. So the first thing we're going to do is fan the feet out. So we're going to fan the heels and then the toes. So the feet and knees our hip width apart, okay? And then we did some little pelvic tilts, didn't we? We were sort of tilted the pelvis backwards and forwards a little bit. So we were arching the back, okay? So you're creating a nice big curve in the lower back there. And then we were flattening it as much as we could. But remember, we're not forcing the movement. We're working nice and steady. Okay, and then you just wanted to find the point where you just finish with a very slight curve in the lower back. So if you were to get your hand and try and put it under your waist, you could only get tips of the fingers under. If the whole hand goes through, you know you're too arched. You just need to flatten a little bit more. And this position is our neutral position. Okay, and we're going to start and finish our exercises in this position. Now, if you remember, before we started, I said I got a really nice mobility exercise for the lower back. This is it. But what we're going to do is we're just going to change the foot position slightly. We're going to still keep the feet hip width apart, but I want you to shuffle your feet back towards you a little bit more. That will just make it a little bit easier. We are going to do the shoulder bridge. Now, you may have come across this one before. Okay, it's a really nice exercise to loosen up the spine. So we're starting in our neutral position. And we're going to see if we can lift the hips up off the mat. If you can't go up as high as me, that's okay. Just go up as high as you want. So what we're going to do, the first thing is I want you to flatten your waist gently into the mat. Okay, so I don't suppose you can see much of what I'm doing at the moment, but I've just flattened my lower back into the mat. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to squeeze my bum a little bit, and I'm just going to see if I can lift the hips up off the mat. Can you see they're just starting to lift, okay? Now you can just go that high if you want to, but I'm going to go up this high, I think, up to there, okay? So we've got a nice straight line from the knees to the shoulder, okay? Now, we're going to come all the way back down. So I'm going to work from the top of my spine, place the spine down, bone by bone, nice and slowly. The important bit is when you get to the waist. See if you can get the waist down into the mat first before those hips go down. And then just finish in that neutral position again at the end. Okay? So let's try it again. So it's nice and steady. We're not going to rush through it. So here we go again. So we're in neutral, little curve in the lower back. So we're going to flatten the waist into the mat nice and gently. Okay, squeeze your bum a little bit, lift the hips, peel the spine like sellotape off the mat, peel it up as high as you can. Keep squeezing your bum. That's a really good tip because quite often people grip with the muscles in the back of the legs and then they start cramping up. So squeeze your bum. Let's come down. So we're going to lower the spine, bone by bone, working from the top of the spine. We're coming all the way down. We're going to see if we can let the waist sink into the mat before the hips go down. That's quite hard to do that, to get the waist down before the hips go down. It takes a bit of practice, so don't worry if you can't quite do it today. Let's have another go. So here we go. We're going to flatten the waist, lift the hips, squeeze your bum and peel the spine up like sellotape. We'll hold it there for a second. And then we're going to slowly lower the spine all the way back down. Finishing in that neutral position at the end. Be aware of where you finish because sometimes some people go too far and they just go do a little bit extra, and then you finish with that big curve in the waist again, which we don't want, so we want that little curve. We'll just do it one more time. Here we go. So we're going to flatten the waist, squeeze your bum, lift the hips and peel the spine up nice and steady. And then we'll come all the way back down, lower the spine bone by bone. See if you can get that waist down into the mat again before those hips go down. Fabulous. So that was the shoulder bridge. I use that one a lot as well. It's a nice one to do. So this time we'll go on to the next one. I'm just going to move my feet away a little bit now. They don't need to be quite as close. We're going to bring the legs back together, okay? But still check that you're in neutral and you've just got that little curve in the lower back. Okay. This one is called the hip twist. So this is a nice one. It's a nice mobilizing exercise, but it gives us a nice little stretch as well. So what we're going to do this time, I think I'm going to have my arms out to the side, just a touch, okay? On this one, I want you to imagine that your ankles and your knees are super glued together, so don't let them slip apart, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to send the knees over from side to side, but we're not going to send them all the way down to the floor, no more than halfway, okay? So we're starting in that neutral position, and then we're going to send the knees over to the side, nice and slowly, keeping the knees and the ankles glued together. So don't go any more than halfway. And then you're going to bring the knees back up to the top. And then when you get to the top, make sure you finished in neutral again. Okay, and then we're ready to go the other way. So again, nice and steady, sending the knees over. Okay, keeping the knees and feet glued together, and then bring the knees back up, finish in that neutral position again. Okay, now sometimes we need to check that the shoulders aren't lifting as well on this one. So just imagine as well now that you've got your shoulder blades super glued down to the mat as well, so they're not going to lift. Okay, we'll do one more. And then I think on the final two, I'll just talk you through the breathing a little bit, okay? We haven't done that yet, have we? So we come back to the top, finishing in neutral. So this time, as you send the knees over, let's take a nice deep breath in. And then when you're ready to bring the knees back up to the top, breathe out. Then we'll do it again. So we're going to breathe in through the nose, sending the knees over to the side. And then breathe out through the mouth. Bringing the knees all the way back up to the top. And then just checking again that you've finished in that nice neutral position. So that's a nice mobility exercise to loosen up the lower back. And if you're particularly tight, it's sort of in the waist area, in the lower back. Sometimes you can feel it's a nice stretch as well. So I think I'm going to roll onto my side. I'm going to push myself back up, okay, because I'm just checking there's two more. Now, let's do this in a different position again. Now, I know not everyone is great on the knees. Okay, we've already done a bit on the knees. So this one, if you don't want to do this one on your knees, the only reason I'm doing it like this is because I've got my camera set up ready. If I stand up, you won't see my head. So you can do it in standing if you want to. Or you can join me in a high kneeling position. So if you're in high kneeling like me, you need to make sure that your knees are roughly hip width apart. So don't do it with the knees together, okay? Knees slightly apart, so they're about hip width, okay? If you're doing it in standing, just make sure your feet are hip width apart, okay? Nice and easy. So we're going to do a little bit more rotation to finish off with a bit more mobility for the spine. Now, on this first one, we're going to fix the pelvis. Actually, we're going to fix everything from the waist down. Nothing is going to move. Little visualization for you. Hip bones at the front. Imagine you've got two car headlights stuck to those hip bones. The main beam is on. They're shining nice and bright, straight ahead. Okay, now those lights have got to keep pointing straight ahead. Don't let them move. Okay, whatever we do now, don't turn your lights. Okay, they've got to be pointing straight ahead. Let's cross the arms. Okay, now I haven't got my arms up too high because if I do that, my shoulders come up. So my arms are a little lower than the shoulders. Okay, and that'll help to keep those shoulders down. So remember, car headlights pointing straight ahead. We're going to rotate round to the side. So we're going to just very gently turn round to the side. Just being mindful of those car headlights. They're still pointing forwards, and then we're going to bring it all the way back to centre. Okay, and then we'll go the other way. So we're going to rotate round the other way, and then we're going to come back to centre. Now be careful that you don't force this move, okay? If you feel like you're not rotating very far, don't push yourself to go further, okay? Because sometimes we can cramp up in the ribs, and we don't want that. That's quite uncomfortable, okay? So just take it as far as is comfortable, And then when you feel you can't really go any further, then that's your point. Don't take it any further than that, okay? Now, if you feel like you can go around a lot, okay, that's usually because the hips have moved, okay? So just check those car headlights, make sure they're pointing straight ahead. Keep the shoulders down as well. Let's do 2 more with the breathing. So we're going to breathe out through the mouth as you rotate around. And then breathe in as you come back to centre. Breathe out through the mouth. And breathe in and come back to centre. And we'll lower those arms down. You can give the shoulders a little roll around if you want to. We'll stop here for our final exercise. Hands on the hips. We're going to stretch all the way down the side of the body now. So I want you to take one arm up to the ceiling. And then we're going to flex over to the side so you get that nice stretch all the way down the side of the body. So as soon as you feel that pulling and that stretch, stop there, don't take it any further. And then bring the arm all the way back down. Then we take the other arm over to the side, nice big stretch again. We'll have to do that one again. Let's do it with the breath, shall we? So we're going to breathe out as we flex over. And breathe in to return. Last one. Breathing out, flexing over. And breathe in to return. Fabulous. Keep those shoulders a little roll around. Wonderful. How was that? We're all done. Nice and short. But hopefully you've done enough to feel a little bit better now. Better in your spine. Maybe your back is feeling a little bit looser. So right at the beginning, after that first exercise, that cat mobility that we did, I asked you to stop and just be aware of how your back felt. Now you may have felt, like I said before we started that one, it's quite a difficult exercise to do. Sometimes it takes us a little while. We need a bit more practice at that one. But I just want you to get a sense of how your spine, how your back felt. Either just before you started or while you were doing that exercise. How did it feel? And how does it feel now? So we've done quite a bit of mobility exercises. The one where we were twisting the arm through when we're in our all-fours position, threading the needle, and the shoulder bridge where we're on our back and we were lifting the hips up. Those two in particular were really nice ones to loosen everything up. So I just want you now to just take a moment and just be mindful of how your back is feeling. Does it feel a little looser? Do you feel like you can move a little easier than you could maybe when you got up this morning? Okay. So, before we finish the daily task, okay, I mentioned at the beginning, I'll remind you again. I want you to do what you did yesterday. I want you to pick your favourite exercise from today. So that exercise that you were doing, that you were halfway through and you felt, you know what, this feels really good, I like this one, okay? That's the one that I want you to have another go at later on today, this afternoon or just before you go to bed, give it another go, okay? Always do one that you enjoy doing, okay? I find that those are usually the right ones to pick. But what I want you to do today is I also want you to do the exercise that you picked from yesterday's session. So today you've got 2 exercises to have a go at. It's still not going to take you very long, just a couple of minutes. You haven't got to do a lot. Just do half a dozen repetitions of each exercise. And just being mindful of your setup. I've gone through it again today. So just check that you're in a nice position before you start and just do the exercises nice and steady and nice and controlled. Okay, so that is your daily task for today. Have a go at that, see how you get on. Now I'm going to check my notes, make sure I haven't forgotten anything. I have, because don't forget, on Friday, it's like a bonus session. On Friday, I'm inviting you all to join me on Zoom. So we're not going to be in the group, it's going to be live on Zoom. So you will need the link for the Zoom class. I posted the link to register for that yesterday. I've sort of stuck it to the top of the page, so hopefully you've seen that. you'll need to click on there and register so that I can email you out the details. That session isn't going to be in this group. There won't be a recording of it in the group either. So if you want to take part in that, you need to register. Okay, you can register tomorrow as well if you're still not decided yet, if you can make it. But you'll need to register if you want to join me live. Okay, so that's on Friday. Tomorrow it's day 3. So tomorrow is probably the most challenging of all 3 of them, because tomorrow we're looking at strength and control. So we're going to look at strengthening the abdominals a little bit, because we haven't really done that at all yet, have we? And also a little bit of upper body strength, because I like doing upper body strength work. It feels good after you've done it. So that is tomorrow. So I'm going to be back 10:30, usual time. And also I've got a news about that free posture course that you can get hold of, the personalised Pilates workout plan for 5 lucky people, and also I've got details of my membership, because that is opening tomorrow for just 1 week. So you won't want to miss any of that tomorrow. It's going to be a good one to finish off with, and hopefully you will be feeling those abdominals after tomorrow's session. So I'm going to leave it there. Oh, I almost forgot. I knew there was going to be something else. Q&As. If you've got any questions about today or yesterday, any of the exercises we've done, anything else related to Pilates exercise, any issues that you've got, don't forget to drop them in the comments below. I'm going to do a Q&A session on Thursday, which I'll post details about that later this afternoon, where I'll answer any questions. So if you want to ask me anything, drop me a little message below and I will do that tomorrow. I'm losing track of the days actually. But it's Thursday tomorrow, isn't it? So that's tomorrow. Q&As is tomorrow. Right. Okay then. Don't forget your daily tasks. Enjoy the sunshine. It's going to be a nice day again, isn't it? And I'll see you again 10:30 in the morning. Bye for now.